Welcome everybody to this to my July 10th through July 16th card class to go. This week I am going to be using the bundle, the Nature's Print. I'm going to be using this image and the die. This is no longer considered a bundle in the catalog because it was actually a stamp set that was featured in last year's catalog. It carried over. So once it carries over, you don't get the 10% discount. But I'm going to use it anyways. I think it's really, really beautiful. Now, you could use this Hello There. The stamp set that I'm going to use, or the stamp that I'm going to use for this card is Hello, but I wanted to use the Biggest Wish. And the reason why is because this is a little bit bigger and thicker font. And because I'm going to do heat embossing. So I'm going to use the Biggest Wish for that. And then the flowers that I'm going to use for this is going to come from the Irresistible Bloom. This is a bundle. So if you buy this together, you will get the 10% off. I'm going to use these two flowers and then the dies to cut them out. And then I'm also going to use the circle shapes dies to cut out the circle in the card. So let's get started. So here I'm bringing out the color that I'm using is Misty Moonlight, and I am stamping it onto vellum. I decided to use the vellum because number one, I feel like it makes the card look more elegant, and also when I put the card together, I'm going to flip one image over, and you won't even be able to tell because the blue shows through on both sides. Maybe if you're really looking for it, you might, but I didn't think you could tell. So here I'm heat embossing the flowers for the card, and I just want to give you a little tip. I don't actually do it here. I did it when I made my sample card. The impression actually came out pretty good, and I didn't have to do it. But anytime that you do heat embossing, it's pretty much the reason why I used my Misty to do this because I could have just stamped it, but uh, if you go in and you heat emboss and you notice that there's sections of it missing, because sometimes the powder gets pushed around from your gun and or something, you might notice it's not, especially when it's a thicker um like border or stamp. You can heat emboss it and put it right back in your Misty and then stamp it again after it's heat embossed. You can put the ink back on, and so that's why I have it in my Misty, so I can, if I needed to redo it again, I could stamp right on top of this after I put the heat tool on it. But I didn't have to do that, so, for this card, so, um, you know, I I didn't have to use the Misty, but I didn't know that that was gonna happen. So here I'm just hitting kinda trying to dry the vellum. Whenever you stamp on vellum, the ink doesn't soak into the vellum like it would on regular cardstock. It kind of sits on top of it. So I was just hitting it with the heat tool to help dry it. You don't necessarily have to have it on the heat setting. You could put it on the lower setting if you wanted to, but just did it real quick to dry it. So now I'm just cutting out the flowers and all the green, or I say greenery, but it's actually blue, but the floral part of it. Cutting out the vellum, it's very, very thin. And I'm using, I don't even know what they call this. I got this from scrapbook.com. I'm actually using my old magnetic plate that I used in my old Big Shot. And then it's called a Magic Mat. I got from scrapbook.com. This is not sold by Stampin' Up, but this just makes it a lot easier to die cut. It really it saves on your plates. You know, you only have to use the one plate. It doesn't warp as much. I know Stampin' Up had came out with a magnetic plate with this kind of mat on top of it, and they immediately pulled it because it came apart. I used mine until it completely fell apart. So I no longer have that, but they, Stampin' Up pulled that. So what I do is I cut the circle out. You need to keep the circle that comes out of there because I'm going to use it on the next card. And then I ran it through in it's the Fern 3D embossing folder. Um, a lot of the cards that I'm doing, you will in the series, I will use the parts that are cut out. So here I'm just lining up the top layer just so I can position the stamp. I end up taking it out, but I'm just trying to position my stamp, uh, in the center of this half moon or half little circle. When I made my sample card or my practice card, I call it, it was in a little bit different position from when I cut the circle. So I'm heat embossing that as well. And this is the same thing if you ever or when if you go to stamp this and the heat embossing doesn't completely cover, then you can stick it back in your MISTI and go over it. It's just the ones that have the thicker font sometimes do that, but it didn't do it, so I didn't have to put it back in for this card. And then another tip is here I'm immediately wiping the card after I embossed it. Let it cool a little bit if you, to get that dust off. I did smudge the heat embossing powder because it's still soft when when you heat emboss it. Just you know, it wasn't bad enough to where I didn't want to use the card or I would have stopped the video, but just to try and remember that sometimes you instantly want to dust off that thing from your embossing buddy, and it's fine being there. It's, let it cool a little bit before you try to wipe it off. So I'm going to pop this up on dimensionals and, I made it to where there's just going to be like a space, just a little, like an eighth of an inch at the top and an eighth of an inch at the bottom, but the card will go all the way across the whole middle, except for the little, peekaboo on the side. Now, if you have a little bit of extra, you can cut that off. I lined it up. I felt like I lined it up pretty good, but there was a little piece. So here you can see I'm laying down the pieces and I just flip one of them over and you honestly cannot tell a difference. Just um, what I'm doing now is I'm kind of positioning my uh, leaves or whatever this floral piece is, and I'm just getting it positioned, but I'm putting the glue down and I'm going to lay my flower down after that, and then I'll pick it up and, completely glue it down in places I didn't want to put too much glue because with vellum you can see it, but what I end up doing is I put some glue, but I put it right where the blue parts are a little bit darker because I want it to lay down. I don't want it to catch because like I said, vellum is kind of fragile, so if it gets caught in the envelope or, so I wanted it to lay down. I love this little piece. I love this, both of these stamp sets. I did a class on it, at the end of June, and all the ladies love the cards. And you know, this is just another way to use it with another piece of or another stamp set. I honestly think you could just go on forever making cards with both these sets. It's funny because I didn't used to really. I'm not gonna say care for the flowers, but Um, I've noticed the more that I stamp, the more I like them. I like the cutesy stuff, the real cute stuff, like what we did last week with the monkey or, I like real cutesy stuff like that, but I'm really starting to appreciate the flowers. I think I'm getting better about using them more often. I don't buy too many sets because I don't want to only do flowers. I feel like the catalog definitely has a lot of floral sets. I still haven't demonstrated too many cards with the daisies yet. It's been on back order, I feel like forever. I haven't looked at the list in a while, but I have that one coming up too that I want to do, but I'm not sure when. The holiday catalog will be coming out. We'll do our pre-order next month, so that's right around the corner. And then I got the Christmas in July that I'm going to be doing. I don't even know which week I want to do that, but this is the finished card. So I just want to remind everybody that currently, if you spend for every $50 that you spend, you will receive an email that will give you a code for $5 off an order for next month. So you want to make sure that you're keeping those emails and those codes. There's no limit to it. It's every $50 that you spend. It's called bonus days. So I'm using the Hello in the Hello Irresistible stamp set for this card, and then the countryside dies, and then this twisted rope embossing folder. I think this is probably one of my favorite embossing folders. It's 3D, and I don't know what it is about the texture. We used it for when we did the fishing class, the masculine cards, and I really like the texture of it. I don't always like. I don't know. I like embossing folders, but I don't always like some of the ones that they have. Like I don't know. I feel like sometimes when you do the really 3D ones, sometimes they give too much impression. But this one is just I don't know. I love the way it looks. So I decided to use this one instead of the fern, even though this card is almost exactly done exactly the same. So as the other one, we are going to pull in the pieces that half circle that was in the last card that I cut out. We're going to use that for this one. So see that texture is just so good. I love it, and it doesn't just shape your cardstock at all. Sometimes when the fibers break down, it feels really thin, but this doesn't. I'm again using the Misty Moonlight. I love this blue. It's just a really good blue. So I'm just trying to straighten it up. It's or line it up real well. It's only an eighth of an inch from the edge, so you have to make sure you really get it down evenly. And I'm just putting an extra layer on the inside because there's so much weight on the front of the card with so many layers that I wanted to try and even out the weight of the card. And you don't necessarily need to do this because the card base is white, but I'm only doing it because there's so many layers on the front and it's kind of heavy. So what I did was I took the two largest uh, of the countryside dies and I just cut um, made like a frame by doing that. And I'm going to use that on the card and then I'm popping this up on dimensionals. Now the dimensionals, sometimes what I do is I save these edge pieces for specifically when I have stuff like this. I always put these in my drawer. And when I have projects like this, then I can, pull them out for that. So here I'm just going to try and center it as best I can. And then that half circle that we cut out of the last card, I'm going to place that in the middle. I'm going to pop it up on dimensionals too. So this will make it the same height as the, whatever this shape is, the countryside shape. I don't really know what this shape is called, but just kind of slide that up in there. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to bring in those greenery pieces or leaf pieces and do the exact same thing. I'm going to flip over the other one and put it down. Now this time I glued the leaves to the actual paper instead of gluing part of it onto the flower and then picking it up and gluing it down. I just went ahead and glued it down because I knew it was the majority of it was going to be covered up. And I had something to kind of glue it to. So I'm just adding the layers. So for this card, I'm gonna stamp on just a strip of paper and just kind of cut it at an angle to write my hello. So how my card classes work is if you place a $35 order with me, you will I will send you the card kits to make 3 designs, 2 of each. And if you place a $50 order this week, I will send you those card kits and a roll of this linen thread. All the information is linked in the description below. You do have to use my host code to get those. I've had a few people not understand how that works, and I want to make sure that if you're on my email list, I always send out a shop with host code link. It's very important that you use that because it helps offset the cost for me to send these kits to you. It doesn't cover the whole thing, but it definitely helps me to buy the supplies to send you. So I wanted to tell you guys that the online exclusives is now live. The truck bundle, the actual punch is in stock right now, but the stamp set is not. That is supposed to be back in stock July 17th, and I do know that stamp sets are made in Utah at the Stampin' Up facility, so that will not be a problem to get right away. So July 17th, that'll be back in stock. Okay, so for card 3, I am using, so the dies that I used, I'm using that countryside sweet paper, and then I'm using the Misty Moonlight paper again, and basic white. But the dies that I used, the little circle that I'm going to stamp on is from the All That dies. And I ordered a stamp set that should be coming in. Well, who knows when it's going to get here, but there's a lot of stamps that it's like a sentiment stamp. And I'm going to be using these a lot more. I love that die set because it gives a really good imprint. It has like a border around it. You can't see it when I'm stamping or even probably in pictures, but when you see the card up close, it has like a little rim around the white piece that I stamped. And then the other one, it comes from I think it's Natural Print or whatever the stamp set that goes right there on the left-hand side. It's the dies that goes with that one. That's what I'll layer the white piece on, but I think it looks pretty good. This is a little bit simpler card, but it looks so good. I used that same embossing folder from the last card, and I just wanted something quick and easy to put together, but it still looks just as good because instead of, cutting out all those floral images, I'm just adding floral paper, and wrapping the linen thread around, and it's simple but elegant card. Something that you can definitely mass produce these if you wanted to. So I want to encourage everyone, if you are interested in any of my classes or anything that I got coming up, or want to just know what's going on, or maybe you just want to be nosy, I encourage you to, there's a link in the description below to join my email, and you will get my emails and know you'll never miss a class, an event, or anything, any of the sales, because that's my way of communicating with everyone. And that's also really the only way that you can register for any of my classes. Um, Also, in the link in the description below is, you'll read, and there's a shop link that has the host code attached to it, to get these kits if you're interested in that. Um, I want everybody to, if you would like to, uh, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm you know a newer channel, and I'm trying to grow. And also, let me know which card is your favorite out of all these. I've been getting some really great comments, and I enjoy interacting with you. And I'm just curious to know which one's your favorite, or which one would you prefer to make? Maybe, like, if you had to make one, which would be the one that you would maybe want to make? Leave a comment in the description below, and I will see you on Thursday for another card. Bye bye.